Mr. Neiman.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Secretary, and I am also very pleased that you are here today with us to share your perspective. This is a unique opportunity, not just for our panel, but for the American people watching us today. I believe it is critically important for us to have this dialogue now, early in your term, to facilitate our working relationship going forward and to inform the American public about your efforts. Speaker Nancy Pelosi asked me to serve on this panel, in part, to be a voice for the states and their residents. I'm also, as you know, the New York State Superintendent of Banks, and in that capacity, I feel my job is about more than just overseeing banks. It's also about helping people in financial distress. Under New York Governor David Paterson, we've taken aggressive actions at the state level in response to the crisis, from borrower outreach and increased enforcement to one of the most comprehensive legislative actions regarding mortgage reform in the country. But the fact is that states cannot bring an end to the foreclosure crisis or get us out of this recession without a federal partner. However, people across the country aren't sure if the Treasury efforts are working, which makes your job even harder at the federal level. I hope to use this hearing to ask you some tough questions, but to also give you a chance to demonstrate that Treasury's plan can work. You may be aware that I placed a blog post on a prominent website yesterday that asked people to submit questions to you. I placed it on the Huffington Post because that blog reaches over 10 million readers per month, thus representing a good but imperfect cross-section of American opinion. Literally, within hours of the posting, there were hundreds of responses that expressed deep concerns and even skepticism about the program, many accompanied by deeply personal stories. I read these questions on the train ride down to Washington last night, and it made me think a lot. It gave me a better sense of people's views, but it also made me really wonder, why aren't people seeing progress in the Treasury's plan? Perhaps it's because it's hard to see results in 1, 2, or 3 months, but perhaps it's because things are not working out as well as we would like. So it seems to me that what is needed is a better system for measuring success that Treasury could provide to inform the American taxpayer. For instance, how should we measure whether the financial system is stabilizing? Should we be looking at credit default spreads or tangible capital ratios or some other metrics? How will we know that we are making progress? How do we measure if the program has increased the amount of bank lending to consumers, to small businesses, to corporations? What is the impact of the decline in borrower demand versus a tightening of underwriting standards by banks? Mr. Secretary, does Treasury have its own metrics for determining success in reaching its goals? And if so, can they be shared with the American public and be posted on your website so that all citizens can see how your plan is measuring up? My worry is that if you do not, one of the most common questions I encounter when I hear from people about your plan will remain unanswered. One person put it quite bluntly on the blog, stating, quote, "When are those banks going to stop sitting on all that money and start lending again?" Close quote. That question is undoubtedly a common question, and yet the recent snapshots from Treasury shows banks are making progress and attempting to be responsive in meeting credit needs. However, additional information is clearly needed to get to the bottom of this. Metrics would help, and our panel will be issuing a report on this question in May that will specifically look on credit availability and small business and consumer lending, including your programs to start the securitization market. It is my personal view that although disagreement exists among some very smart people in this country, including Nobel Prize winners on both sides of the issues, you have a plan that can work. But it can only work with the support of the American people. And to support it, people need to understand it, and they need to feel that they can adequately judge it. So I see this hearing as an important contribution to an inclusive process. And my questions today will reflect comments and concerns that I have received from a broad range of Americans. I hope today is only the beginning of a more collaborative relationship, and I look forward to your remarks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Neiman. Secretary Geithner, we will enter your formal testimony in the record, of course, but we encourage your, welcome your oral remarks. If you could hold them to 5 minutes so that we go to questioning, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Chairwoman.